And that remains our continuing focus right here on WION World is One. 8 blasts have locked Sri Lanka in 6 hours. 162 people have been killed so far, over 400 injured. The Sri Lankan government is, as we speak, in a huddle. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has called for an emergency meeting in the wake of those explosions. Let's take a listen in first to the Sri Lankan Prime Minister expressing solidarity with those who lost their lives in those terror attacks.
රජය වෙනුවෙන් මම කනගාටුව ප්‍රකාශ කරන්නට කැමතියි. මේ සිදුවීම රටෙත් ඒ වගේම රටේ ආර්ථිකයත් අස්ථාවර කිරීමේ බරපතල තත්වයක් ලෙස මා දකිනවා. විශේෂයෙන් ආගමික සිද්ධාස්ථාන හා ප්‍රධාන හෝටල් කීපයක් ඉලක්ක කොටගෙන එල්ල වූ මේ ප්‍රහාරය මා තරයේ හෙලා දකිනවා. නීතිය ආරක්ෂා කිරීමට අප සියලු දෙනා කටයුතු කළ යුතුයි. ඒ සඳහා අවශ්‍ය සියලු පියවර ගන්නා ලෙසට මා ආරක්ෂක ලේකම් වෙතත් ත්‍රිවිධ හමුදාපතිවරුන් හා පොලිස්පති වෙතත් උපදෙස් ලබා දී තිබෙනවා. මමත් ඒ වගේම අනිකුත් ඇමතිවරුනුත් ගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමා සමග ගත යුතු ඉදිරි ක්‍රියාමාර්ග පිළිබඳ සාකච්ඡා කළා. මෙම සාකච්ඡාව සඳහා ජනාධිපති ලේකම් නීතිපතිතුමා මුදල් අමාත්‍යාංශයේ ලේකම් හා ආපදා කළමනාකාර අමාත්‍යාංශයේ ලේකම්ද සහභාගී වුණා. දැනට මේ සිදුවීම් ගැන පැවැත්වෙන පොලිස් පරීක්ෂණ වලින් අනතුරුව මේ සඳහා වගකිව යුතු පුද්ගලයන් කුමන තරාතිරමකට අයත් වුවත් ඔවුන්ට එරෙහිව දැඩි ලෙස නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන බව සඳහන් කරන්නට කැමැතියි. ඒ සඳහා අවශ්‍ය බලතල ආරක්ෂා අංශවලට අපි ලබා දෙනවා. ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අපි සැමෝම මේ ජාතික අර්බුදකාරී අවස්ථාවේ ඉවසමින් කටයුතු කර සාමය ආරක්ෂා කරමු. ස්තුතියි.
Meanwhile, Sri Lanka's defence minister has imposed night curfew post those explosions. The curfew is in effect and will remain in place till 6 a.m. tomorrow. And as a precautionary measure, access to major social media services has also been blocked. 3 churches and 4 luxury hotels have been hit by the bombings. At least 162 people are reported to be killed. 35 foreigners are among those casualties. The blast hit several high-end hotels and 1 church in the capital, while 2 additional churches were targeted outside of Colombo. The number of people injured in the blast has now topped 400. An eyewitness account by a Sri Lankan Member of Parliament, Harsha Silva, who was at St. Anthony's Church in Colombo at the time of the explosion, described the horrible scenes witnessed at the church. According to the legislator, he saw multiple body parts strewn all over. Several people were rushed to the hospital soon after the explosions. These blasts took place during Easter Mass. The first explosion was reported in a church located in capital Colombo. The other blast followed soon after. Hours after a near simultaneous series of blasts, 2 new blasts struck Sri Lanka, taking the count to 8. The 7th blast was reported in Beliwala near Colombo. 2 people died in that blast. The latest explosion, that is the 8th one, was a suicide bomb blast. It was reported in the suburb of Origudawata in the north of capital Colombo. Hotels also were targeted. The explosion rocked Shangri-La Hotel in Colombo. It was also reported at the Cinnamon Grand Hotels in Colombo and the Kingsbury Hotel, also located in Colombo. Meanwhile, the Lankan Prime Minister has called for an emergency meeting of the nation's parliament to assess the situation. Emergency crews have been pressed into action. The government has requested the people to stay indoor and stay calm. Meanwhile, the Lankan government has declared a holiday for all schools as another precautionary measure. The schools will remain shut for the next 2 days. And according to reports, Sri Lanka's police chief has made a nationwide alert 10 days before Sunday's bomb attacks. According to an AFP report, the Indian High Commission was on the target list. The intelligence report stated that the NTJ, or National Tawhid Jamaat, is planning to carry out suicide attacks targeting prominent churches as well. The police chief sent an intelligence warning to top officers on April 11, setting out the threat. The NTJ is a radical Muslim group in Sri Lanka that came to notice last year when it was linked to the vandalization of Buddhist statues. And India has reacted to the series of explosions that have rocked Sri Lanka. India has strongly condemned the serial blasts. In a statement released by India, the government has extended its deepest condolences to the people of the country. India has called for expeditious action against the perpetrators. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi also condemned the blasts. In his tweets, he said, and I'm quoting, "There was no place for such barbarism." He said that India stood in solidarity with the people of Sri Lanka. The Prime Minister also expressed his condolences, saying that his thoughts were with the bereaved families. President Ramnath Kovind has also tweeted out in support of the Sri Lankan people and the government. He reiterated that such senseless violence has no place in a civilized society. He also expressed India's complete solidarity with Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, India's External Affairs Minister has also tweeted, saying that she is in constant touch with the Indian High Commissioner in Colombo and is keeping a close eye on the situation as it unfolds. The Indian Embassy in Colombo has also issued helpline numbers for Indians in need of assistance and any clarification. Indians in distress may call the following numbers: 9477 903082, 941124227888. Those are some of the numbers on your screens that have also been flashed. Meanwhile, nations and world leaders have condemned the ghastly attack. Messages have been pouring in from different parts of the world. Foreign Minister of the Maldives has tweeted his condolences and prayers for the people and families that have been affected by the attacks as well. European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker offered his condolences to the people of Sri Lanka. That's just one of the many reactions that have been trickling in. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan also called out the horrific terror attack that happened. He's expressed Pakistan's complete solidarity with Sri Lanka in their hour of grief. British Prime Minister Theresa May has called the attack appalling. May has said, and I'm quoting, "We must stand together to make sure that no one ever should have to ever practice their faith in fear." The U.S. ambassador to India also condemned the attack, and I'm quoting, "The U.S. mission in India strongly condemns today's horrific attack in Sri Lanka. We send our heartfelt condolences to the victims and their families." The Russian president also offered his heartfelt condolences. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison also condemned the horrific attack and offered heartfelt sympathy and support for the country.
The Australian government condemn these further terrorist attacks that we've seen. Bombings in Sri Lanka of Christians as they went to worship on Easter Sunday. Bombings in hotels, all coordinated as part of a deadly terrorist attack. Sri Lanka hasn't seen this form of violence since 2009 when the hostilities ceased in that country. And to the beautiful people of Sri Lanka, Australia sends its heartfelt sympathies and our prayers and our support and our offer to do whatever we can to support you in this terrible time of need.
Meanwhile, the U.S. Embassy has also issued an advisory asking its citizens to exercise extreme caution and follow instructions from the local authorities. That message is on your screens.